Okay, I'm going to walk you through the 5 foods I prescribe to every single prediabetes patients that I see. Not 5 supplements, not 5 powders, 5 everyday foods that the healthiest cultures around the world have used for thousands of years. And you're going to learn that your blood sugar, your microbiome, and your GLP-1 system are going to thank you for them. I'm saving number 5 for last. Most people completely overlook it. And even though we have some of the clearest research on blood sugar and insulin resistance for this one, when I explain what it does, my patients honestly do not believe me at first. Before we dive in, if you have been told to cut carbs, just eat more protein, just lose weight, and you're still not sure what actually to put on your plate, I have made something completely different. I tell my patients, all of my patients, especially my patients that have diabetes, to focus on fiber. So I have a free Joyful Fiber guide. It's packed with useful information about how much fiber is in foods, what foods to actually eat, what to do when you go grocery shopping, and some recipes to help get you started. So really recommend grabbing that if you can, especially if you're living with prediabetes, but really it's good for everybody. So the link is in the description. Follow along as we talk about these 5 foods. So I want you to picture something. Picture you're in Mexico, say. There's a table with charred tomato salsa, a pile of fresh cilantro, pickled jalapenos, sliced radishes, or maybe it's a Mediterranean mezza with hummus, with olive oil, with baba ganoush, with other more fresh herbs and olives scattered on everything, or a South Asian thali, dal, fragrant with cumin, turmeric gold rice, a spoonful of chutney, fresh mint. These things are not decoration, they are flavor. And you know what? Every single one of those elements does something. And these cooks are not counting macros or calories. They're cooking in a way that their grandmothers have taught them generations of accumulated wisdom about what makes food taste extraordinary. And you know what? It turns out that the same thing that makes foods taste good actually make them more healing. So this is what I want you to hear, because this is the foundation of what I practice, what I call joyful medicine. Flavor is not the reward that you get after being good and eating healthy. Flavor actually is the medicine. And today I'm going to show you how exactly, one food at a time, you can do this. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Jen. I'm a triple board certified physician who helps women reverse prediabetes using joyful medicine that honors their lives, their cultures, and their humanity. This is where evidence-based lifestyle medicine meets joy, community, and everyday living. So last night, my son came home with a cold. I felt so bad for him. And most people would reach for chicken soup. But number one, I don't cook chicken. So I did what I know is best. I made a big bowl of curry. And it was amazing. I thought it tasted great. We all got to benefit. But the reason is because the ingredients, which I'll talk to you about, but it had turmeric and cumin and ginger and garlic. All of the flavors in the pan made the house smell amazing. I also add in split peas, split yellow lentils, and by the end of the night, this satisfying bowl soothed his body and also boosted his immune system. So it tastes like comfort food, but actually under the hood, it's a big bowl of immune supporting, anti-inflammatory, blood sugar steadying medicine in disguise. And this is what I want for you: real food that tastes like comfort and tastes like love while quietly doing some clinical work in the background. So let's dive into it. So the first ingredient, one of my favorites, is garlic. This food has lived in every kitchen on earth since humans actually started using heat to cook, right? It is the base of Mexican sofrito. It's the first thing in the pan with most Italian dishes. It's the backbone of hummus, the foundation of West African stews. When you ask cooks around the world what makes their food taste like home, garlic is almost always part of the answer. Why? Because garlic is pungent and savory and so satisfying. It transforms a pan and a dish, and it announces that something good is about to happen. Think about it. Whenever I chop garlic, or even when I first put it in the pan, the whole house is like, what? Something smells so good, and that's like just immediate. It's natural. Let's talk about the medicine though. Do you know when you cut or chop or crush garlic, it forms compounds like allicin that help calm inflammation and support heart and metabolic health. Garlic is also a great prebiotic, which means that it feeds the beneficial bacteria in our gut. And these bacteria are the keys to actually our GLP-1 system functioning optimally. helps regulate blood sugar, appetite, and mood. But how can you use it? So one of my favorite things to do, my daughter's favorite thing, is actually to roast it. Just take the whole head of garlic, a little bit of olive oil, put it in some tin foil and roast it in the oven. And then when it comes out, you roast it for about 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes until it's soft. You cut it and you squeeze out that roasted garlic, and you can use it in a variety of different ways. My daughter's favorite thing is to put it on a slice of Italian bread or sourdough. But you can use it in soups, you can use it in dressing. But I also love raw garlic. Raw garlic is actually what I use probably the most of, which I put in salad dressings. I, put it in salads. I put it everywhere, really. I love garlic, really. So not only does it taste good, but it is definitely one of the most healing foods that you can consume. That's the first one. And the next one is, a lot of times we see it as garnish here in the United States. I mean, think about all of the places you go out to eat and they have like a little twig of parsley and you push it to the side. But you know what? These herbs, cilantro, parsley, mint, basil, they are not garnish. They are not a pretty green thing that you should push aside. They're actually some of the most nutrient dense, flavor dense foods that you can eat. And they make a dish feel alive. I mean, I love that about the spring and the summer when we get all those fresh herbs directly from the farmer's market. But you can even make a little garden on your windowsill that you could have it year round. But that bite that makes you close your eyes, that you get the bite and you get the aroma at the same time, that it's so bright and fresh. Those are those fresh herbs at work. It's the difference between food that's fine and food that you're still thinking about tomorrow. And in some cultures, there's literally an herb plate on the table. If you can food, even with the pile of cilantro, even pho, they put cilantro and mint. I love actually chopping those fresh herbs and putting them in a salad. Really yummy. So this really is medicine. Fresh herbs are loaded with polyphenols, which are plant compounds that also feed the microbiome diversity. Our microbiome thrives when it has a diversity of different microbes, and to get that diversity is really by adding all of these different plant compounds, and herbs can be some of the most powerful ones. This diverse microbiome actually helps stabilize blood sugar, improve GLP-1 function and release, and lower inflammation over time. So I recommend using in abundance, not a little pinch, but like a handful, a full handful or 2 handfuls. Finish everything. You can put it over fresh salad, like I said, do it over soups, over beans, over bowls. Bowls are a great way to get all of these different things in one meal. You can blend them into sauces, really give them a full seat at the table. Number 3 is probably already in your fridge or in your pantry, and you're treating it like a condiment, but it's one of the simplest ways to support your gut-driven GLP-1. Number 4 is one of the most powerful foods for insulin resistance, so make sure, and it's most underrated, especially here in this country, so don't go anywhere. So fermented foods, let's talk about them. What do salsa, kimchi, pickles, miso, sauerkraut all have in common? They're fermented. They're tangy, complex, and they make everything they touch taste more interesting. They give you that fun, different kind of taste on your palate. And every traditional cuisine has some version of it. It's not just a wellness trend. This is actually ancient human wisdom. It's how they preserved fresh foods, through the winters, but also those live ferments served a purpose. This is why they've remained around. These live cultures contain beneficial bacteria. Now, I have to point out that you see probiotics everywhere, but probiotics a lot of times end up just with expensive poop because they just go right out your gastrointestinal tract. Whereas when you use these beneficial live cultures, they actually set up residence and they stay there and they help, increase that microbial diversity. And the more diverse your microbiome, the more it's able to produce more short chain fatty acids, which are those precursors to stimulating your natural GLP-1. So yes, your gut makes glucagon-like peptide naturally with food and some other things which we'll talk about. But GLP-1 is one of those hormones that helps keep your blood sugar steady. It helps keep your appetite in check. It stimulates satiety. And it's the same big pathway. It's the same pathway that all of these pharmaceutical companies are using, and they've created a synthetic substitute. But we have it within us, and if we just do the right things, our body is always trying to heal. And the key is really supporting our body so it can do what it wants to do. And believe it or not, by adding more flavor and joy to your foods, you can actually do that. So you don't need a prescription. Well, maybe those medications can be very helpful, but salsa and miso and tempeh and kimchi, all of these things can be very powerful in helping them. So how can you use them? I mean, I put it everywhere. I mean, I will add, kimchi or sauerkraut to salads. Think about fun ways, like if I make a sandwich. I know people talk about sandwiches being bad, as I think that sandwiches can be a great way to get more veggies in. Think about all the different things you can add. And so you can add those fresh herbs that we talked about before. We can add some garlic, maybe a garlic sauce, and you can add some fermented foods. Make a great sandwich. I make it like a challenge to see how many different things I can add in one dish or sandwich or salad, and that diversity again is on your side. A spoonful of kimchi or sauerkraut on your side of your plate, some miso whisked into dressings or broths. Another one of my favorites lately has been gochujang, which is a spicy, it's like a fermented pepper paste from Korea. Really flavorful. It's got such complex flavors. That's the great thing about those fermented foods. It adds that little tang and like surprise to your palate. So definitely encourage you to try and experiment with some new different types of fermented foods. Okay. Number 4 is the humble one. It's the one that we in this country just don't use enough of. It is simple, it's everywhere, it's cheap, but you know what? It is one of the most powerful things you can do for your blood sugar and insulin resistance. So it is the mighty bean. I love talking about beans. Beans are some of the most underrated blood sugar friendly foods that we have. Black beans, pinto beans, lentils, chickpeas, different cultures, same pattern. Long lived populations that live the longest and are the healthiest into their 8th and 9th decades of life, have beans as a daily or near daily staple. And that's really the key. So they are great for prediabetes because, number one, they're packed with fiber, which slows down how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream and flattens that post-meal spike that everybody's trying to flatten by avoiding carbs. Don't avoid the carbs, just have more beans. They contain resistant starch, which helps feed your gut bacteria and helps your microbiome produce more GLP-1 through that short-chain fatty acid system that we talked about. They also provide protein. If you're worried about protein, plant proteins help you feel full longer because they have the fiber that goes along with it. And they, again, help stabilize blood sugar. I'll tell you a little trick, though. Beans not only lower your blood sugar for the current meal you're having, but that effect lasts into your next meal. It can last into the next day. So it can lower your blood sugar for the next meal that you have tomorrow morning. So, and my son's 6-day curry beans were in there as I had those yellow lentils, and they were so good. They brought the creaminess and the texture while still helping boost immunity, lower blood sugar, and just taste really yummy. So how do you use beans? I just put them everywhere. You can add them to salads. I love adding chickpeas to salads. Actually, yesterday I added some of these things together. I made a white bean, used those cannellini beans with a little bit of lemon and garlic, and I let that marinate a little bit while I chopped the rest of my veggies, and I poured that into a salad. That's a great way to do it. Add beans where you would normally add meat, or take half the meat out and add beans if you're still gonna have your meat. Any amount of beans you can add, and ideally every day, really can make a big difference with your blood sugar. Lentils and chickpeas and curry, like I just did. And so those beans, I'm telling you, that is one of the mightiest things that you can do for your blood sugar. Number 5 is the one I say for last because the research is very specific and the cultural story is amazing. Most people barely using these things to their full power. The spice trade literally reshaped human history. Wars were fought over these ingredients. Entire trade routes were created to move them across continents. Cultures have been obsessed with spices for thousands of years because they made food extraordinary and because they always understood that these were medicine. Turmeric, cumin, cinnamon, amazing. Here's what each one does in plain language. So turmeric contains curcumin, one of the most studied anti-inflammatory compounds in nutrition science. Used consistently, it helps lower inflammation and it supports insulin sensitivity, so it makes your body respond to insulin better. I will point out that those turmeric supplements are everywhere, and you're much better off getting it from food for two reasons. Number one, it tastes good, right? That's part of the benefit. But the second one is they can be very harmful because unfortunately they don't regulate the amount of the compound that's in the supplement. And there have been cases of liver failure related to supplements, and specifically with turmeric and curcumin. So you're better off, again, using it in food. Cinnamon is another one. Has some of the most consistent data above any spice for blood sugar regulation. Regular intake has helped improve fasting blood sugar and improve how your cells respond to insulin. So again, improving that insulin sensitivity. Cumin is another one. It supports digestion and microbial diversity. So which again, supports your GLP-1. That microbial diversity is the key. We all need to shoot for this. So these spices are probably sitting in your cabinet. They've been in every kitchen and culture that figured out how to eat well. Science didn't discover them, but science is finally catching up. So how can you use them? So turmeric I love. Again, it was in my curry last night. If you're using spices, the best way to get the most, excitement from them is to actually bloom them beforehand. So you can either put the spices in a dry pan and heat it up, and when you smell the fragrance, then start to use them. Or like if you are sauteing onions and garlic, do that part first and add the spices at the end again and let that fragrance come. So then that way that flavor is throughout the dish that you're making, and you really get the full benefit of all that flavor. Flavor is medicine. I love actually making turmeric smoothies. I used to do this when I was a runner. It's great for anti-inflammatory. When I used to run longer, I used to do ultra marathons, which one day I'll do another one. But I would make turmeric smoothies. I would take turmeric and ginger. I like to do the fresh root, but you could do it with the ground as well. You take the turmeric and ginger and you do mango. I used to love mango. I would put berries sometimes. Sometimes I would put mixed greens like, kale or spinach or something like that. And then sometimes I'd add some herbs too, like some basil. But you blend it all up and it's yummy, so good, and it's really great. And there's some studies that put turmeric and non-steroidals like ibuprofen and those up head for head. And the turmeric is, I think, as potent or more potent than the non-steroidals. That's something to think about. Cinnamon you can add everywhere. One of the greatest dishes I talk about is just oatmeal, plain oatmeal. Add oatmeal and walnuts and some cinnamon on top, berries, and that again is a great stabilizing blood sugar. Go for the old-fashioned rolled oats, steel cut, or oat groats. Those are the best. Least processed form of oats, the better for your blood sugar in the long run. And be generous. These are not just like little sprinkle here and there. Dump in as much as you like so you can get that flavor, but also get the benefit of those polyphenols. So what I want you to see is it's not about a single food. It really is about flavor, right? The garlic, the spices, the fresh herbs, all of these things, that flavor delivers a rich variety of plant foods, which give that diversity to your microbiome, which help not only support your natural GLP-1, again, through that short chain fatty acid system, but it also lowers inflammation over time and actually starts to shift your blood sugar in the right direction. I want to point this out, though, that we always want everything to happen so quickly. And the change, the damage happened over decades many times. And so the change takes a while for your body to respond, for that inflammation to lower, for your cells to become more sensitive to insulin, and then for things to start to reverse. And so that patience is important. That's why the flavor and the savoring and the enjoyment is so important, as such an important part of healing. And I really want to just impress upon you how important that is. The other thing I want to talk about is modern medicine always tries to break things down to compartmentalize everything. We often try to separate the brain from the body. So we don't think about the taste of food or the enjoyment of life. And we just try to look at the macros and the weight and the numbers and try to refine everything. But we are a whole complex ecosystem. How we feel about our health is as important as the steps we take in the right direction to heal. And the enjoyment of the journey along the way is critical to making it sustainable. So this is why I've created my own method of how I help apply lifestyle medicine, how to help women reverse prediabetes, and it has been very effective. Every day I get text messages that I'm so happy and so proud of the women that have done this program, my programs, because I see the change happens. Lower hemoglobin A1C, less medications, more joy, which I would say more self-love and confidence. These things are so critically important. I think they're just as important as the steps we take and the results at the end. And that is so important. So my SAVOR method is my way of putting these pieces together. And SAVOR is about savoring life. It's about taking time to slow down and savor, because our brains are connected to our bodies, and how we feel about our health is as important, but really that nervous system regulation is critical to not only lowering our stress, which we know has a huge effect on our chronic disease risk and how that disease affects our body for the long term, but it's also key to helping us sustain these habits that are key to creating lasting health. So SAVOR, S stands for self-love and savoring life. It helps you regulate your nervous system. It allows you to find joy and pleasure in life and satisfaction in what you do, including your meals. ACT, A is for acting with intention. So small, consistent, doable actions compound over time. It's not all or nothing thinking. It's that progress over perfection every day. Vegetables first is V. V is for vegetables first, which is plant forward, fiber rich eating. Anti-inflammatory, satisfying meals that help support your blood sugar and your natural GLP-1, your mood, and even how you sleep. O is making the healthy choice, or the choice obvious, right? You want to make sure that your environment is not working against you. You don't want to struggle every time you go to make a meal or look for a snack. You want to, you want it to be the automatic, easy choice. And recognizing that, life is always going to throw you curveballs. So just being prepared, but also setting up the environment around you for comfort and success. And that is really important. R is for restorative sleep. We know that sleep, again, like stress, these two things affect every organ in our body, affect how we function, affect our cravings and our hormone levels. So protecting our sleep is critical at all costs. So all of the things are happening together. It's not one individual thing. They all happen together. And how, when you can savor your food, when you can enjoy your food, you digest differently. When your meal is satisfying and anti-inflammatory, your sleep and your cravings shift. And when your nervous system feels safer, it is easy to make intentional choices. It's all one system. So instead of always fighting yourself every day, I hear, oh my gosh, I have to snack. Oh, how am I going to get my protein? All of these things, this noise takes away from the actual real steps that it takes to make lasting change and to enjoy your life. So it's not a diet, it's not a list of rules, it's a way of living and eating that is quietly working in kitchens, really, and communities around the world. And that's kind of what I've built my program on. So my 5-day GLP-1 challenge is where I get to walk you through how to live this SAVOR method day to day in your actual life. Every handful of beans, charred chili, generous pinch of cinnamon, every walk taken in daylight, every night you protect your sleep, all of it is an act of self-love and accumulated wisdom that's passed forward. And the wisdom is yours. It has always been yours. Your body knows how to heal when it's supported optimally. And so hopefully you'll join me in the GLP-1 challenge. It's about adding, not subtracting. And I encourage you to pick one of these 5 things. Maybe you're doing them already, but I encourage you to do them abundantly. Sometimes often, the way that we look at diabetes, the way we look at chronic disease, the way we look at weight is about restriction. We have to hold the reins tighter. But I encourage you to use these things abundantly, because actually I find that the biggest gap is when we have too little of the things that are healing, and we focus too much on avoiding the things that we think are causing harm. So flipping the switch on that and focusing on abundantly doing the things that are going to support your healing. So this will help your body and help your brain allow that natural GLP-1 system to work. So I encourage you to invite you to join us on the challenge next week. We start on Tuesday. It's 5 days. I'll walk you through exactly my method on, incorporating these SAVOR steps in your life every day. And so the link is below in the description. If you haven't grabbed it yet, make sure to grab my Joyful Fiber Guide, which again has the details of the proper foods to consume, how much fiber is in different foods, and it'll give you like a good place to get started. And I think that's really, again, like I say, the key for everybody is to eat more fiber. Our children need to eat more fiber. We need to eat more fiber, and we can always improve our diet, the quality of our diet, because it can make a big difference. If you want me to make the sick day curry that I made, comment below. I think I'm going to make that video next. Okay, thanks for watching.